Welcome to our study in First Corinthians. We are studying first chapter, fourth verse onward. But I would like to elaborate a little bit of the context of the church because the context is very important to understand the problem that is involved in the issues that are addressed in First Corinthians. The writers, the historians informs us that dominating in the city of Corinth was a Corinth hill, which is 1,850 feet. And on the top of that hill was located the temple of Aphrodite, the Greek goddess of love. And this faith, these religious practices was engaged particularly in glorification of sex. There were more than 1,000 priestess, Devadasis, who will come down in the city and then influence the city. Then the second thing that we also see, the historian tells us, that there was another temple, the temple of Apollo. Temple of Apollo was basically of god Apollo, which is god of music, god of song and poetry. But it also represented the ideal of male beauty. Glorification of the beauty of young men. And many scholars believe that that is the seat from where homosexuality became much more public and more practiced in the society. William Barclay quotes one extra biblical source, and he quotes Farrar. And Farrar speaks of the city constitution, little bit of the composition of the society. This mongrel and heterogeneous population of Greek adventurers and Roman burgeons, with a training infusion of Phoenicians, the mass of Jews, ex-soldiers, philosophers, merchants, sailors, freedmen, slaves, trade people, hucksters, and agents of every form of vice. So you can see the composition of the city, the cosmopolitan nature of the society, where members of societies are there with various interests and with little responsibility towards the city. People were there only to enjoy and have fun, like we have this modern cosmopolitan city of our time. That is the context where this church, new church, young church is located. And there is an influence inside the church. Members are influenced by the culture of the city. And so the church at Corinth has many issues, many problems. Individuals, spiritual, family, and Paul is trying to address those. One of the major issues we read in first 4 chapters is unity, lack of unity, different opinion, and different ideas that has divided the church. So beginning at verse 10, Paul is informing us, he writes, chapter 1, verse 10, I appeal to you, brothers, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that all of you agree with one another, so that there may be no divisions among you, and that you may be perfectly united in mind and thought. My brothers, some from Chloe's household, have informed me that there are quarrels among you. What I mean is this: one of you says, I follow Paul, another I follow Apollos, another I follow Cephas, still another I follow Christ. Is Christ divided? Was Paul crucified for you? Were you baptized into the name of Paul? Whenever church starts following human leaders and bylaws and constitution, man-made rules, and the wisdom, human-made wisdoms, and the traditions and the culture, is likely that the church will be divided and segregated, and it will collapse. The church needs to follow Jesus Christ on top priority. Paul is not saying that we don't need human leaders or bylaws and constitution and man-made rules. No, he's not saying. He's saying, what is our priority? What is our top? Are we ready to compromise the lordship of Jesus Christ? the unity in Jesus Christ for the sake of one particular leader whom we admire and who we like, or for the sake of the bylaws and constitution that was made long time ago, or because some missionary told us to do this way, or because what we think in our tradition, our culture, this is right. What is our first thing? What does Christ expect us as a church of Christ, as a body of Jesus Christ? What does Jesus expect us? Unity is our top priority. And so Paul is basically addressing that issue. But Paul is very positive and he addresses the issue. We'll consider in our next studies verse 4 to all the way to 9. And it's just, I just admire Paul, the way he looks at the problem and he addresses the issues. And he's so positive, so optimistic. May God help us to learn from the life of Paul how he addresses challenging issues in his time. Bless you and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.